this is Tom Matt. Tom Matt is now you're seeing the face of what was Boomers Rock Radio, but is now the Tom Matt Show. He's an award-winning radio show host out of Michigan. He does sports and talk radio, and he's syndicated all throughout the U.S., but I think mostly the Midwest and part of the West Coast, right? So
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty cool right now, Deb. I mean, it's like I had to throw the glasses on because you were making me feel so damn like special.
So at any rate, I will let you take it away from here, but you're going to give us tips and secrets and everything in the very first episode that we're doing right now of what we need to know about radio and how it's created.
Okay. So welcome everyone. Here's what we're going to do today. My name is Tom Matt. I work full-time at Michigan State University, and this is my side game with my wife, Sandy. This is our 9th season doing the radio program. As Deb said, we started as Boomers Rock. That's the Boomers Rock Media. It has been the side action, as I like to call it. And when I do a lot of one-on-one coaching with students at the university and executives all the way up and down. So I'm always encouraging everyone, but especially you young people, think about, first off, side action, skills, passion, purpose. These are the types of things that got me going in this direction, which I had no clue that this was going to happen. I wrote a book about almost 10 years ago now, that almost like 11, I guess, when we started, Deb. Maximize Your Quality of Life. I was a non-traditional student in college, which means to you, I'm the old guy in class. In my 40s, I went back to college to finish my bachelor's degree, and then I finished that in 6 years and got my master's degree at Michigan State while I was working. So I was what they call non-traditional, and I use that in my speaking a lot, everybody, where I tell the audiences that I've done everything completely ass backwards, and it's been a great life. I have in July 27th of this year will be my 22nd year of sobriety. So I always tell students right up front that I've had more darkness in my life than you could probably ever imagine. But I've seen, and Sandy and I watched Rocket Man last night, the Elton John movie, and Elton John had me beat. He did more drugs than I did, but it was close. I mean, it was, we were neck and neck there for a while. He's a little bit older than I am, but back in those days, that was kind of the way it went. So for my first 20 years of my adult life, I was walking a fine line, never got in trouble, made all kinds of money, lived in Southern California for 15 years. So any of you that are thinking about that, post high school, college, because I do help a lot of college, and I've been in higher education for 21 years now. If you want any help with moving out west or things like that, relocating, I have all kinds of advice on that and so forth. So I want to keep this intro sort of in a nutshell short. I've done this as a speech. I can do this for a whole hour. And the whole point of today is to record an episode with Dr. Heiser, Debbie, who is a near dear friend, been on my show. She was one of my very, very first gets. Now, here's the deal, everybody. We're going to record this. This will actually become a radio program. We will record this in 5 segments. So they're all about 10 minutes long, because that's the way radio works. You have breaks and you have this. We record this. There's no music. So we're recording this live. We do very, very little, if any, editing. The only thing that my producer, Ezra Baker, does is he puts the sound beds behind the voices in the gaps, the intros, the outros, those things. Now, just to back up a little bit, I want to tell you, I never really had any idea I would ever be in radio or podcasting or streaming or whatever, however you want to think about this. My degrees at Michigan State are in telecommunication, information studies, and media, which now is called media information. So it's about content, and I get the whole content thing. Basically, I'm the senior voice technician at Michigan State University. As I said, I've been out there 21 years. I take care of all the phones on campus. I'm the lead guy, okay? So our department, because we're a huge university, Big Ten university, with about 60,000 students and about 20,000 live on campus and 12,000 full-time employees, a big place. 500 plus buildings. It's a huge campus, all inclusive. It's not like a downtown campus like you might be used to, or if you've been to like the University of Michigan or any of those types of, we're more rural. We're more like, we have farms and like big giant farms with all kinds of stuff like that. So that's how my day job goes. And so I never ever thought I'd be in this radio position. And 10 years ago, I was trying to pitch my book. I had a coach who was helping me get coached up. And that's another thing about finding mentors. And this is where the mentor project is really speaks to me, because so many people have helped me throughout my life, especially when I was in college. Going back to college as an older guy was very challenging. You got to find those people that can help you, and don't be afraid to reach out to them and ask them for help, because there's lots of people out there, but they're not going to read your mind and come up to you and say, hey, I see you want to do art, or I see you want to write a book, or no, that's not happening. What you got to do is you got to be aggressive, and you got to put yourself out there. And we're here to help you. At this point in my life, because I am a papa, my grandchildren, I have 2 young grandchildren. They're 7 and almost 5. I'm at that point where it's like, Debbie taught me a long time ago the term generativity. I'm firmly in that whole mode of generativity where you give back. Okay, but I had a lot of people who helped me. So through this whole program, this is what Debbie's going to achieve and do. And I've been with her, and she's been with me for 9 years now. She was one of my first big gets. And the way I found her was just scouring around. And I'm always like looking for guests and reading. And that's one thing, if you want to get into the content development, you got to read, okay? You've got to read books. You got to read articles, find things, anything. Time Magazine. I read Time Magazine, even though it can be boring and, it can be polarized political bullcrap. I stay middle of the road. With my radio show, it started off as the baby boomer fitness show with 2 guys from Connecticut, and has evolved into this quality of life thing where we've won a couple of awards, and we're on a network syndicated on. There's over 35 stations in this network. You really never know with broadcast radio how many stations are carrying you, because it's all automated. Okay, so that in itself is the radio. When I started this, I always wanted to be on radio, because when we started, think back, you guys, there were no podcasts. If there were, they were just starting out, and nobody really even knew what a podcast was. Now our podcast numbers are almost like taking the place of the radio stations, and they still want to be nationally syndicated. So we are a 1-hour radio show. That's why you won't hear me dropping F-bombs, although I'm going to be doing podcast production coming up. I've got a couple of shows that I'm working on with some people that when you do podcasts, you can do whatever you want. But with broadcast radio, FCC rules, it's clean Jane, there's no F-bombs, none of that kind of stuff. Okay, so back to the show. 5 segments, about 10 minutes each. We'll start this thing here pretty quick. I'm going to bring Debbie in. I do an intro. Each segment I start off like radio. I will say Debbie's name a lot, because when you're doing radio, you're coached up to always mention the guest's name. Instead of being like a podcast, which this show will become a podcast once it airs on the radio stations, it's always radio first, podcast second. Now, if you want to do a podcast and hey, God bless you, go for it. Keep it in mind what we're doing here and come up with your own format. But again, start making notes. And the more that the ideas pop in your head, if you can see here, I don't know how much you guys can see, but I've got notepads everywhere. Like this is Debbie's folder, okay? Debbie, can you see all that?
Wow.
You see that?
You're like the FBI.
That's Debbie Heiser right there, okay? These are notes that I take, and I just write down keywords, everybody. Deb, did you want to say something, Deb?
I was just going to ask you, I would want to know, I know that you got into this because you were interested in fitness and wellness and health. Does a person, if they're going to start a podcast or a radio show, but most people would probably want to do a podcast, do they need to have a theme? Do they need, should there be some underlying passion or theme that a person has?
I would think so, but you know what? You always keep it nimble and flexible, because in life with small business and anything else, you want to keep it so that you can morph. So when I started, that's a very good question, by the way, Deb. When I started, everybody, the guys were looking for a baby boomer fitness guy. Okay. So I figured out, and this was, now we were on air.
Who were the guys?
Two guys from Connecticut, Sean Webb and Ermal something. I couldn't remember how to pronounce his last name. They started this FTNS, this fitness network, this all fitness streaming network. There was no podcast. It was strictly a live stream. And they had all these different guests, and they found me via LinkedIn. Now, here's another thing for you guys to keep in mind. And I know you're young and you're all starting out, but start your profile on LinkedIn now, because it takes time to build that profile. LinkedIn is not like Facebook. So I found these guys, they found me through LinkedIn groups, and I didn't even know there were groups on LinkedIn. Now, you can friend me on LinkedIn or whatever the hell you call it, request me, and I have, I don't know, 3,000, 4,000 people on LinkedIn, which is not a huge number, but it's not like small. And there's a lot of different things you can find out there. So get yourself on that social media. That will help you professionally. And as you grow older, you can add into your portfolio. So as we started the show, they found me, I found them via LinkedIn. I was trying to promote my book. They were starting this all fitness network, and they had this card on their board, as they called it, for a baby boomer fitness guy. And I just got my certification as a personal trainer, which I still have 10 years later. And I continue to, do the CEUs every 2 years. And I don't do a lot of one-on-one stuff, but I do group fitness at the university, but that's a whole nother deal. I quickly realized, though, that 3 shows a week for an hour, that I had to find these guests, I had to read articles, that it was going to get really boring really fast to just talk fitness. So I asked.
Wait, back it up just a little bit. Sorry to interrupt.
It's all right.
So, okay, so you got mutually contacted on LinkedIn.
Yep.
So, but then you were just like, okay, now I'm going to be a radio guy?
Well, that was the thing. I asked them, I said, because I thought I was just looking to get on a show, to be a guest, to promote my book.
Okay.
Sean Webb said during this phone call we had, I think you have what it takes to be a host. And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, a host of what? He said, we're looking for a baby boomer fitness guy to do a 1-hour show 3 times a week. And I'm like, how the hell would we do that? I'm in Michigan, you're in Connecticut. Oh, we're going to do it all via Skype, and it's going to be online. I'm like, and they had this packet of stuff, which I have somewhere, which I could share. I've been trying to digitize that stuff, Deb, so we could put it into the curriculum for the mentor guide, which we will eventually. But it was
so all you needed was Skype. So
Yep.
A person that's starting out, they need just to have Skype, or I guess Zoom, right? That's it?
Right. And now we're on Zoom because my Skype broke on this computer that I use now, that I bought from my producer. I use this Mac exclusively for the radio show. I don't do anything else on it. It's an older Mac. It has Adobe Audition, which is the software that we're recording in here pretty quick. So kind of make note of that, you guys, that Adobe Audition is something you want to kind of become familiar with. The Adobe product lines out there with all the video stuff, which I'm going to get better at myself, and the audio stuff. I don't do anything with it. Ezra does all that, but it's on this computer so we can record in 2 channels. If you're going to do the podcast, your podcast is coming together, they make USB microphones that are really pretty good, and they're not that expensive. Get yourself one. You can also get yourself a headset, a Skype headset or a Zoom headset. Those work pretty well too.
Where do they get them?
You can get them online. They can be anywhere.
Like Amazon do they have
Amazon.
to go to a specific place?
No,
and what are they called? Are they called Zoom headset or Skype headset?
Yeah,
what are they called?
I just Googled Skype headset, or you go and you do that on Amazon, and away you go. I mean, it's like that works. They can be anywhere from about $30 to $100. Now, probably most of the students are exposed to gaming. Gaming headsets, I had one of those for a while. One of my old pictures has me wearing a gaming headset that had a microphone and the two ear things. Now, right now I'm wearing earbuds. I got this headband on because it keeps my earbuds in. Helps me. I do it at the gym as well. Little plug to Rogue too. Maybe Rogue will want to sponsor someday, Deb. I don't know. Rogue Fitness, they're a pretty big fitness company. You want to try to figure out, what works for you guys, but that's mechanically, that's the stuff that you want to record it. And there's so much, there's just a ton of platforms out there that you can record in. But if you're a gamer and you got a gaming headset, that probably would work. I mean, the one thing I want to caution everybody on is good audio makes it, terrible audio, and I'm going to swear a little bit here once in a while, okay? I hope I don't offend anybody, but shitty audio is shit, and so don't do it. Don't be a bonehead and cut corners with audio. It's like watching terrible video. You guys, you watch these little video clips on phones, how quick do you click off those things when you can't hear what they're saying or it sounds like crap? Don't do it. Spend a couple of dollars and do it right, okay? It doesn't have to be super expensive. It could be anywhere, like I said.
How much do they run?
$30. You can get a good one for about $30. I swear to God. So it's not bad. Now the Blue, BLEU, I think it's called, Blue mic we use for a long time. It's a USB connected microphone. It's got different settings on it. You can have a guest come in. Looking back at my iPad there. Those run about $100. Those are very, very good. The thing is they I burned up a couple of them for some reason. They power surge or lightning or something here in Michigan, but it didn't enable me to record in 2 channels. Where now in my setup here in my studio, I have 2 microphones because the Adobe Audition gives me the ability to record in 2 tracks, which makes it easy for my producer Ezra to adjust the volume of the guest. So you guys could probably learn how to do this yourself, and you can tweak the levels. That's just something to keep in mind. You don't need to have that right away. You could record in one stream and have both, maybe it's just you talking or you're interviewing someone. But back to Debbie's original question, do you need a theme? I had a theme to start with. It didn't take me long to figure out we need to morph. We need to move, or this is going to get really boring and it's not going to last. So just keep that in mind. So say you're going to do a podcast on gaming. Maybe you start with a specific game and you just start to morph out as you read articles and find people that you might want to interview and make it fun. Have fun. You're going to see here, we're going to start this thing here in a second because I don't want to take too much time with the recording of this because we're going to be recording for 52 minutes. So I need to get going because my voice will get all dried out.
Take it away.
Well, we'll start in just a second here. Just want to remind everybody that I'm really happy that you're joining us. I'm glad that Debbie's recording this. I'm thrilled to be part of this project, and I'm here to help you in my aspect. All of the mentors that are in her group are fantastic people with a diversified skill set that's just amazing. And if any of you want to come to Michigan State to go to college, hey, hit me up. Maybe I can hook you up. You still got to have the grades. I mean, that's the whole thing. So anyways, today I will start this thing in a second here, you guys. We'll do intros, then I'll bring Debbie in. We'll have some laughs. We'll go to breaks. If you have questions during break, which will be about 10 minutes at each, we'll take about 3 or 4 minutes each time, maybe 5, so that we get through this thing in a halfway decent amount of time. That if you want to ask a question or type in the chat box, is that how it's working, Deb?
Yeah, they can type in the chat box, and then I see the chat box, and I'll hold the questions until the break, and then I'll read the questions to you.
Got it. Okay. So this is the first time we've done this together, and I told Debbie, I said, well, Debbie's on the show probably 3 times a year, and with this project getting really rolling, I said, well, why don't we try to combine the two? I need to record a show. I need her back because she's so damn good, and why don't we just turn this into like a lesson for you guys? So that's the whole purpose of what we're doing here. So we're not getting into the nitty gritty too much of the radio stuff. We'll do that another time. And you guys can ask me some questions before we're not recording the radio show. But welcome to the radio show. You're part of it. You'll hear it. You'll hear the podcast. And you can tell your friends, hey, I was on that with that guy and Debbie. And or Dr. Heiser, or however you refer to my pal over there. So hope everybody's ready to go. Deb, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let me get this thing started here. See, and what I'm doing right now, you guys, is I have Audition open. I will click my record button, and then the little red bar starts tracking across the screen, and I'll get to about 9.5 minutes, and I'll know it's time to go to break, and I'll go to break, and we'll stop. Then we can talk because we won't be recording. So while we're doing this, that's why Debbie's got control of the mute and the messages and stuff like that. But I will make the listeners aware of what we're doing here, because the theme for this episode, and I'm going to be clear here, the two topics I do not do on this, the two categories I do not do on this radio program are politics and religion, okay? I try to stay away from those two things because they can be very sensitive, they can be very personal, they can be very confrontational, I guess you could say sometimes. And we just got enough content out there. We're trying to help people get better. That's the whole purpose of why I do this. Intrinsically to me, it makes me a better person. I get totally pumped up to do these kind of conversations. And so just remember what I said about reaching out to the mentors and asking questions, and just be ready. Don't be shy. Everybody's here to help you, and I'm here as well. So here we go, Deb. Back in the saddle again. Here we go, Deb.
I'm ready.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the radio program. Hope everybody had a good week. Another episode into season 9, which still blows my mind that we're that far along. Crazy, crazy. Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. Angela Joseph was with us last week. I dreamed up this topic called the opportunity cost of when. The opportunity cost of when. That was very, very cool. We talk about timing and time and sustainability and the fear of risk. And I wrote down, be beautiful, be a unicorn, be different. I like people who are different. I'm different. Nothing wrong with being different. Being different is good, okay? Being different is real good. So that was Angela Joseph, and she's been on quite a few times, but not as many times as today's guest, because Rockstar's back. Dr. Debbie Heiser. The bio has been written on so many times, I don't even, I can't even tell you how many notes I have written on here, because the kids were little when they started. Now they're like in high school. So I want to welcome, I always do a little bit of Debbie's historical perspective here, but I'm not going to go that far today because we got a surprise for you in a second. I'm going to tell you about this. Dr. Deborah Heiser has a PhD in applied developmental psychology. She's my pal, my very, very good friend. She's conducted tons of empirical research, published scholarly articles, book chapters, has co-edited a book entitled Spiritual Assessment and Intervention with Older Adults. This is a very old piece of paper with names and stuff on it. And I don't even need to go much farther into it, because today we are talking about her mentor project. The whole purpose of today's episode, everybody, is we are actually recording the radio program with Debbie here, and she'll be in just a second. But we're also talking about the mentor project, and Debbie is recording this via Zoom video for her class, because I am one of her mentors in the mentor project. The Mentor Project is a registered 501c nonprofit organization that was created to shed light on the benefits of mentoring. We know the benefits mentees receive from finding a good mentor, but did you know that mentors receive as many and often more benefits from mentoring than the mentees? I can absolutely tell you that is a fact, because I've had it happen with me, where the people when I was in college as a non-traditional, as you guys all know, old guy in college, without those people helping me, it doesn't happen. That's why we do what we do. Mentors report feeling of fulfillment, legacy, meaning, productivity, and value. They feel connected to the world in a deeper way than before they became a mentor. These are notes right from the Mentor Project website, which is what the whole theme of today's topic of the category of the show today, everybody. I want to welcome back for her 30-second visit, the most of anybody ever in the history of the Tom Matt / Boomers Rock Show, my friend, Dr. Debbie Heiser. Debbie, welcome back.
Thanks, Tom, for having me. It feels I can't believe it's 32 times. I really can't.
I can't either. Oh my gosh. Do I even need to tell you what the format is here, or you want to just let the listeners know what the heck we're doing?
You know, I just follow you. You have always been such an amazing host. I knew it the first time I heard you that you were going to make it and that you were going to be great because it's like a good dancer. I can just, stand along at the side and you guide along and take it from there. And that's a real gift. And I think that most people think it's really easy to just get up and riff, and you make it seem so easy. And I'd love to know your secrets at some point.
Simulcast with the Mentor Project and the students that are part of the project right now, listening in, asking questions in between our breaks. It's all about curiosity. I'm just a curious cat who likes to talk. I mean, that's about it. I mean, and it's just, I don't know if it was the school, going back to college later in life, Deb, or whatever, but I get a big thrill out of learning. And so it's fun. So, okay. How we always do the thing about the kids. Now, the Mentor Project guys, students that are on the broadcast recording session right now, they don't know some of the stories. What are some of the funniest stories that have occurred in the 32 visits we've had? I know exactly which ones are funny to me, but what are funny to you?
Oh my gosh. I remember when we first moved into the house, we moved out of the apartment and moved into a house in the suburbs. And every single time I would get on the radio with you, something crazy would happen in the house.
Every time, guys. Every single time.
So the first time we got a fireplace in the house. So
I knew it.
I closed the door in a room and it has to be quiet, and I put myself away. And my husband starts a fire and forgets to open the flue. So he's got oven mitts and he's trying to put the fire out. This is a city guy. He grew up in the Bronx. I come out at the end of the radio show and the whole house is covered in smoke. There's soot all over the walls in the den. And so I thought, okay, that's a one-time only. Well, the next time I went in for an hour, and it turned out the kids were by themselves, and they weren't really that young. But they decided to have a neighbor kid over during that time and make themselves into human bird feeders. And so they covered themselves in peanut butter and then bird seed. So, I mean, those are the two that are most remarkable.
They are.
It was an occurrence every time I got on with you that some calamity occurred in the home.
This is a true story. Now, these are true stories. So the regular listeners that are listening to the program, Dr. Debbie Heiser is our guest today, everybody. We're talking about the Mentor Project, which we're doing a simulcast, a lesson for students that are on the Zoom session right now, but we're also recording the radio program because I'm helping Debbie with the Mentor Project. And we want you to be aware of the Mentor Project because maybe you want to become part of the Mentor Project. Those two stories are absolutely our top two. I knew she would go there. The bird feeder thing, the kids now, the boys, I got their names, Liam and Aiden, they're what?
They're in high school now.
18 and 16 now or something like that?
They're 15 and 14.
Okay.
So
15.
actually, yeah, they were kind of young when we first started this.
Yeah, like 6, like really. I mean, you certainly hope that a 12-year-old isn't like turning themselves into a bird feeder.
They were little.
That would be that. How would you like to take that to your neighbor too with the girl who got covered in peanut butter and bird seed, and she's like 13, and they can say that probably would not go over as well as a 6-year-old, huh, Deb?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You'd have to pull your psychologist degree off the wall and say, seriously, it's good things. It's fine. It's good. All right, Deb, we got 2 minutes before we're going to go to break here. So I'd like you to kind of explain to the listeners on the radio and the podcast, of course, what the heck we're doing with the Mentor Project and why we're doing this. Just start it off, and then we'll pick up the thread when we come back in the second segment.
Sure. Well, the Mentor Project was formed because we really saw a need to bring experts in a variety of fields that are, I'd say, STEM or STEAM plus, where we're bringing a diverse group of people and using their expertise to educate, inspire, mentor the next generation. And the goal of it is obviously to get the next generation to sort of have the baton passed to them so they don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's also getting access to really top experts in fields so that kids can reach out and have an actual dialogue with someone that they might not be able to otherwise. So whether you're in an urban setting, a rural setting, north, south, east, west, it doesn't matter where you are, you'll have access to a mentor. And the cool thing is that the mentors are the ones that we're really focusing on. We're really bringing this together so that they can leave the legacy that they want, they can give the message that they want, pass the skills that they want to the next generation. It's up to them.
Okay, so hold that thought here. So that's where we're going to go. We'll pick up the thread when we come back, everybody. Dr. Deborah Heiser is with us, the Mentor Project, the Mentor Project, the Mentor Project. We'll be back. We're going to have a quick conversation with some of the people that are attending in this simulcast. Thank you so much for being part of this little experiment we're doing. It's a Tom Matt Show. Again, my guest, Dr. Deborah Heiser, the Mentor Project. We'll be right back. Okay, so some reason I had a little bit of audio. Keep talking to me, Deb.
I'm here. Are you getting feedback from me?
No, I got this little connector that, no, it's not feedback. Go ahead, talk.
All right, can you hear me okay? Is it sounding a little better? I'm going to talk and just
no,
ask.
it's actually I have this little connector here that I'd hold up, but I know every time my volume starts to fade a little bit, it's just, I think it's just getting old. All right, so no, that was good. So do we have questions? Anybody? Deb,
anybody have questions? Put them in the chat if you do, because otherwise I will have to remute you, and I accidentally muted Tom before. Thank goodness you record your radio show elsewhere. Because I muted you accidentally for about 2 or 3 seconds.
Okay.
Trying to mute someone. So
see, we're all learning here. So where we're at right now, everybody, we're in our break between our first and second segment. And when again to reinforce and give you and explain what we're doing, this is a 5-segment radio show where some podcasts, most podcasts that I listen to, they're all like one long stream. Okay, but here's my thought was always like this. If you're going to monetize something, if you're going to get good at this, if you start off thinking that your podcast that you want to develop and you create has built-in breaks like we're doing here, it makes it very easy to inject a sponsor. So if you do get a game company or whoever, I don't know, I mean, your school wants to be a sponsor and they give you a little like 30-second clip soundbite, it gives you a really nice spot, an intro and outro. I wish more podcasts did it that way. The way they do it is they drop things in and it sounds really kind of clunky. But so that's kind of always been my thought process is like, think of this as radio, even if it's going to be a podcast where you have breaks, and just predetermine the break and or make the podcast short enough that you don't need a break. Because like the podcasts I'm going to do that are strictly podcasts are going to be 20 minutes long. That's it. We're in and out. That's all. The sponsors will be at the top and the back of the podcast itself. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're going to do an hour podcast, you might want to build in some breaks. Does that make sense, Deb?
Yeah, it does. I don't know though, if we have a second, but I don't know if you are going to have breaks. Do you have to go in and edit that?
Well, Ezra does that. I mean, yeah, you have to go in and drop that in, yes. And so there would be some editing involved with that, of course. And so, like when you guys hear this show, you're going to hear a man doing an intro. Hey, welcome to the Tom Matt Show, and there's music behind it. Those are already pre-recorded. But once those are done, you just drop them in, and I don't think it's that hard because it's like editing in video where, and I'm not, hey, believe me, I'm not claiming to be a pro by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that it's digital content, so you're just dropping it in to these little boxes. And so grab it, either copy it and drop it into the box, something like that. And Ezra, we should probably get involved with this as well, which I think, Debbie, you're working with him maybe possibly, I don't know.
I think that we should bring him in on the next one that we talk about that section of it.
Yeah.
But right now it's just to show what the flow of a show looks like from the back end.
Okay. So do we want to continue, or does anybody have a question? Sure. Are we boring you to death, everybody?
Anybody have a quick question before we go and move on? I think we're all right.
Everybody's too bashful. See, this is like being in class. I don't want to be the first. I don't want to be the first question. All right. So if I give somebody like a freebie something, here's the deal. The first person who posts a good question, I'll let Debbie choose. But we're going to choose from all of the questions of people that are out there. I have no idea how many are there. It doesn't matter. If there's one, if there's 20. But I'm going to allow Dr. Heiser to pick someone, and I will send her a copy of my latest book, and she will give that to you. How's that sound?
I like that.
That incentivizes you guys to send some questions to her, okay? How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. If you guys are ready to go, I'm going to start.
Okay.
So what I do here now, everybody, is I just restart the recording because I've had my little cursor stopped at segment 2. I'm going to hit my record button. I have these cards that I read. Everything's in front of me so that I can keep my brain straight, because for me, in the flow of conversation, I need to have things written down, and then I have my notes that I've been writing with Debbie, my key words here. This is really important to kind of keep down, because writing down the key words helps you come back to the thought. Like she talked about STEM and education, and I wrote that down because I think that's important to come back to talk to. Okay, so just FYI, those are just little tips. As I'm thinking about them, I'm going to drop them in there. Okay, here we go. Everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the radio program. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to bring you our show. Dr. Deborah Heiser is with us today. We're talking about and how and all of these things, the who, what, where, and why of the Mentor Project. And we're going to be getting into that here in this segment and then through the rest of the show. Before that, though, I want to say that this segment is sponsored by Ameriprise Financial. And we're so very, very, very fortunate to have Craig Stiles as our financial fitness guru. Your Ameriprise financial advisor is Craig Stiles. He can help you plan for the life you want today and well into the future. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. Be-ism. Call Craig, 1-800-528-1355, 1-800-528-1355. Craig's my guy. He's the man. His offices are located at 2400 Lake Lansing Road, Suite B as in boy, Lansing, Michigan, 48912. If you are in Long Island or New York somewhere where our guest is today, Dr. Deborah Heiser, still send me a note, because Ameriprise is a big company and they network with all their people and they all run on the same culture and philosophy. Ameriprise are all good people. Also want to thank the Michigan Talk Network for carrying the radio program, 35 strong. Here are a few stations, the Independents, and a couple of the stations that are in the network. WGHN 92.1 FM in Grand Haven, Michigan, the first, you guys are the bomb. WGIM 1240 AM in Lansing, Michigan, carrying us multiple times on their airways. That's my hometown, Lansing, Michigan. We've got WYPV, FM 94.5 in Mackinac City, way up north in Mackinac City, beautiful northern Michigan. And our PBS affiliate at the Green Machine of Michigan State University, WKAR 105.1 FM and AM 870. Love you guys so much. They get the exclusive 5th segment. Any station that would like to carry our content, knowing that our family is talk radio, hit me up. My email, always the same, tom@boomersrock.us. Thanks to Craig, again, Stiles, for starting Desideri Analytics and building that whole platform. That's what makes him the ace in the hole. Desideri Analytics is what he will take, and he will analyze your needs financially where we are making light of weighted decisions. Also want to thank the Michigan Talk Network so very much. Always be grateful, everybody. Be grateful for anybody that helps you. okay? Because we're talking about the mentor project. You got to be grateful about this stuff, and you got to acknowledge them and tell them, I appreciate your help. So I always like to say to Steve and Ivy Gruber, the owners of the Michigan Talk Network, thank you guys. Love you so much. You're the bomb. And our latest book, Generation Us, which I'm going to give to one of the participants in our simulcast today, a copy. Debbie will figure out which, whom, what, and maybe if there's a couple of good questions, then we will send a couple of books over. But I will send that book over. Generation Us, our 4 books are on Amazon. Just look up our name, Thomas Matt, and you'll find them, and away we go. Okay, the Mentor Project, Dr. Deborah Heiser. Back to the notes from the website. What do we do with the best and brightest experts? Have them mentor the next generation, right from the website of the Mentor Project. All right, Deb, so we started to scratch the surface a little bit about the Mentor Project. We're doing a simulcast. We're turning this into a lesson where you're recording the video, and I'm turning this radio program into a radio program. So if that makes any sense. Talk more about the Mentor Project, what we're doing, why we're, some of the success. Talk about some of the mentors. You know, let's get rolling
sure.
on this.
Sure. We have such an amazing group of mentors, and we're so lucky because the mentors are really what makes it. And it pretty much happened organically, where the mentors were the ones who actually wanted to make this happen. So for example, one of the reasons why this the Mentor Project even started to begin with was because I was talking with people like Bob Cousins, who happens to be the guy who patented how we use credit cards on the internet. He's an inventor, a serial inventor. He mentors, he's always liked mentoring kids, and he's really into helping kids learn how to patent, how to take an idea, for, you know, a thought or an idea to the level of patenting. And he's into startups. He's really cool about making sure that kids understand that process and take away some of the thought that, oh, patenting is for people who have a lot of money, or for people who have a much bigger idea than I could ever have. And he helps people to do that for free, which is great, through us.
What's Bob's last name again, Deb?
Bob Cousins.
Cousins, okay, thank you.
He's on our website. And another person, I was talking with people at a hackers convention, and I happened to be talking with Bill Cheswick right afterwards. Bill Cheswick is who we call the father of the firewall. He wrote the book on firewalls and internet security, and he was getting ready to retire, and he said, I really want to give back to kids. I want to teach quantum mechanics to 4th graders. I want to teach all kinds of cool stuff to kids, but I'd look like a creep and a weirdo if I did. And I was like, yeah, you would. Don't do that. Don't go there. And so
you didn't say that. Seriously?
Well, come on. How would you feel if some 4th grader was sitting around and some guy was like, hey, you want to learn quantum mechanics? Like, that's weird. So
I don't know. I mean, maybe Bill and I get along. You try to put us together. I think that I don't see a problem with it, frankly. I mean, these kids nowadays are so dang smart. It's just like,
it's true, but we thought that there would be a good idea to form a
life. Might be a good way to segue.
Not just having him going rogue around.
I get it. Okay. Just want to be
great. So at any rate, he said, hey, I'd love to get into schools. And it took some time, but all of a sudden it really started to happen organically. And we got into some schools, and of course they love Bill, and they named, you know, the day that he would come in Ches Day, and they built him all kinds of, you know, they made him like a rocket ship out of beeswax. Yeah, like they love him, and they wrote him letter after letter and cards, you know. And
well, any guy who would be cool with sharing quantum mechanics with a 4th grader has got to be, he's either super cool or super weird. I would like to lean the way of super cool.
Yeah, he's not weird. He's super cool. All of our mentors are super cool. So it started with him getting into the schools, and we brought in it was amazing. I put out a notice on a group, and I said, oh, we're looking for mentors. And somebody said, hey, I would love to do that. And then he had all these connections with schools. And
Yep.
it turned out that, you know, we
There
had
you
all
go.
these people who just kept saying, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. And now we have an astronaut, we have an aerospace engineer who worked on the mission to Mercury. That's Irene Yakbis. And she just gave a talk for us the other day. And she's given talks in schools. And I have to say that every one of our mentors, whether it is Irene or whether it's Charlie Camarda or anybody else, the kids go nuts. They go crazy. They love them.
Okay, so if you haven't recognized the voice, where the heck you been? Dr. Debbie Heiser's back. We're talking about the Mentor Project. Love this topic so much. And when we come back, we'll tell you more about what we're doing here as the simulcast is going on, because I want to kind of really illuminate and illustrate the power of what we're doing here. But we got to take a quick break. You're listening to the Tom Matt Show. Our guest today, Dr. Deborah Heiser, the Mentor Project. We'll be right back. You know, another good thing, everybody, now we're in our second break. And one thing I wanted to tell Debbie when we were talking about doing this, you guys, I've always been really fearful of having video going at the same time as my audio, because I'm just such a bandwidth protector. I want to protect my bandwidth. I want to have great audio, as I was talking about, you know, earlier when I was going through that long ass story that probably put everybody to sleep. And actually, Deb, having you in the little box, you know, things have gotten so much better technology-wise. It's fine. And, you know, seeing you in this tells me this makes it's almost like doing a face-to-face interview here in the studio. It's really is adding to the show. So I appreciate I really do appreciate you kind of helping me get over my anxiety of, hey, let's give this a shot, because you're the one who kind of planted the seed. So, okay, so anybody got questions, or do we continue?
If anybody, because some new people joined in, if anybody has a question, anything at all, please put it in the chat box. I know that people are probably shy, but if I pick your question, you can get Tom's most recent book sent to you from Tom. So there's some incentive there. If anybody would like to just put up a quick question in the chat box, I'm happy to see if there's one to pick to give to.
And we're not limited, you guys. I want to make sure that you understand this is not a one-shot deal here. This is just the beginning of what we wanted to do this experiment. But in the future, when we do the lessons, and I do like a 20-minute lesson with Deb, we record this, it'll be much more like a back and forth sort of deal, right, Deb? I mean, that's kind of, am I describing it correctly?
I mean, the others are going to be focused on a topic, but this way they get to see what it's like with a show. Like they get to, the pause that we have is when you have your
intros and outros.
Yeah,
right.
Intros and outros, but you also have your commercials in then too.
Correct,
so,
correct. And that's it. And remember, you guys, what I talked about now, you're going to do a podcast. Think about the length. Okay, so if you're going to talk by yourself for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, that's a lot of material. So you want to kind of think about this thing. That's where practice. I've been doing this now, this is our 9th season, but I never thought I'd ever do this. And so it organically grew, but obviously the more reps you get, the better you get at this. And so this is kind of just like shooting free throws. You just do recordings. Don't be bashful. So what if it sounds like crap? Who cares? I mean, just give it a shot. I've listened to some of my stuff from, well, a lot of those shows, the shows from 9 years ago are gone because they didn't have podcasts. They didn't record them. But I've listened to some from 5 years ago, and they're not that great. I mean, they're okay. And people have always liked the enthusiasm, but you grow into it. And, you know, we've done 1,600 interviews now. So this is like, it's a process. And so, you know, down the road, if you guys start thinking about this and you want to do it, maybe you want to interview me. And then we talk about content. One of our lessons will probably be revolving around content. We're going to talk about equipment. We're going to talk about the setup. We're going to talk about how do we find guests? How do you become creative? I mean, maybe you're naturally curious. All of these little catchphrases. and it'll be fun. We'll have a good time together. So
I have a question for you from Hannah. I didn't want to break in, but
okay.
hers is really good.
Okay, Hannah, go ahead.
What are the advantages? What do you like about radio versus other mediums? And how did you get started podcasting, doing your radio show? You did talk about that in the beginning, about how you started in that.
Right.
But I'd like to know also what she's asking here. What are the advantages about radio versus other mediums?
Okay, well, here's good, very good question, Hannah. Thank you for asking. Now, the thing I like about audio is, first, your production cost is lower, okay? The editing process, for example, I pay my producer. I was coached up on becoming and owning my own copyright. So having a producer do the sound beds behind me and all this stuff is not that expensive. Where you start getting into video editing, it's much more, from what I understand, a lot more expensive. Now, maybe I'm misinformed, but I know that there's more to it to make it right. Also, the second thing is, the reason I like audio so much is because you can, I hate the term multitask, but seriously, when you have audio, you can truly multitask. It's like, for example, I have specific times that I listen to my podcast. I have certain podcasts I listen to on my way into the university, in the gym in the morning, early morning. I listen to my podcast, about a 20-minute drive from my house to Michigan State. And so I listen to a podcast. And then if I carry it over, if it's good enough, I may listen to it some more in the gym while I'm doing my warm-up cardio stuff. And I can do that. Obviously, you can't do like motion or drive a vehicle and look at video. So that's the advantage, I believe, is the opportunity to like mow the grass or do something else while you're listening to it in the background. But things that kind of are just a physical side, you can listen and still do the physical side and truly multitask. So, but that's where I think primarily the cost difference and the ability to multitask are huge advantages over video and books. And reading.
I will say that the cost for producing a show is really much lower than anybody would ever think. I think that, when I first, I don't know, I first looked into it or something. I thought it was going to be a lot of money, but it's really actually quite affordable. So I think that the costs that initially were out there have come down really far. And so it's not something that's out of the range, regardless of your age, and something that you can afford to do.
And good producers are out there now. Again, I want to step back a minute. For those students that are out there that perhaps might want to get onto the production side instead of the content generation side, there's money to be made on the production side. And that's where, like, my producer, Ezra Baker, he is not an on-air guy. He does a couple of intros for me. You'll hear him on the intro of the podcast. The Tom Matt Show is sponsored by Ameriprise Financial. He does that. But that's it. He is a behind-the-scenes guy. He doesn't want to do on-air stuff. My wife, Sandy, who does all of our calendar stuff, who Debbie knows pretty well, does all of the emails. She does all of the bookings. I do the recruiting. I do the readings. I do those things. So we compartmentalize all of the tasks that go along with this. So you could think about it that way too. As a producer of a radio show or of a video, you are the one who's in charge. So maybe you want to be on the production side rather than the content generation side. So also keep that in mind. That's another good one for down the road, Deb, when we do a specific lesson, for sure. Good question, Anna.
Okay, I think we're good. I think she gets the book.
Well, so far, I mean, we still got a couple segments to go here. So maybe, okay. But that was a really good question. So I'm thrilled that Hannah, stepped up. Way to go, Hannah. All right, guys, here we go. Segment 3, got another read that I do here. As you notice, now here's the other thing about the reads to keep in mind. The reads that I'm doing are embedded in all of the content, where if you have on a radio show, the radio show goes to different stations all over the state, okay? So the local station can insert ads into these slots. I don't get anything for that. That's part of the trade that you get for producing the show. It's part of the deal. That's the way the business works. But when you do a live read like I'm doing right now, those are embedded in all of the streams, in all of the mediums, everything, the podcast, the streams, the radio broadcast, and it's there forever. So if I say, hey, you want to sponsor me, then I'm going to do a read for you. You're on all the stations. You're on the podcast forever. So keep that in mind too, because a commercial is different than a live read. Okay. So that's one thing to keep in mind as you're trying to monetize your business, because that's the whole point, right? The whole point is, I mean, you want to take your hobby and turn it into a fun job. Hey, nothing wrong with that. So here we go. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you, everyone. Again, so very much. I'm so appreciative, so grateful for all the listeners that give us the opportunity to share our guest knowledge. And we like to be different. That's what we do here. I like different. I'm a non-traditional cat. Dr. Deborah Heiser is with us today. We're talking about the Mentor Project. We will get into more of the Mentor Project. We talked about some of the mentors that are part of this project. I would love to have some of our listeners that are out there that are very knowledgeable, like a Bill Coast, who's a very good friend of mine who listens to every one of these episodes. Guarantee it. Billy Coast would be a good mentor. He's the kind of guy who's an honest Christian guy who is just a good guy. Plus, he's in the Michigan High School Golf Hall of Fame. He's a great golfer. All right, first off, though, I want to do this live read. I was just talking to the students about this. Boomers Rock Media is our sponsor for segment 3. Ever thought about launching a podcast? With over 9 seasons, 1,500 episodes, and 3 Michigan Association Broadcast Excellence Awards, our production team can bring your voice and story to the world. Do you want help publishing a book? I've written 4 books. I've got another one in the can. Know the business. Wanted to learn how to publish books. I was more on like thinking about doing the publishing thing, but you know what? Learn how to do this stuff and don't reinvent the wheel. Go find mentors, people who can help you, and ask them questions. Like, for example, when I wrote my first book, the manuscript was 120,000 words. I talked to an editor because I was shopping around trying to get pricing, and she asked me how many words was my manuscript. I said 120,000. She said, that's 40,000 too long. That was free advice that she gave me. I had no idea. I mean, I'm an author who's just a guy who's throwing stuff on paper. So ding, 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 lesson. You need help with digital marketing. You need help launching a website. We have people. I know a lot of people. I love connecting people together. If you want some help with that, I can recommend some very, very good people who are pretty cost effective and you can trust them. I mean, it's all about trust. Let me tell you that right now, okay? Trust is our highest value. We want to bring your story to life. Here's what you do. Get on Debbie's Mentor Project and or send me an email. Send it to Sandy, actually, to boomersrockmedia@gmail. It's a new thing that we've been doing. Debbie, you haven't even heard this because we started doing this just recently. boomersrockmedia@gmail, and that will get you a free half an hour with me phone call. Okay, freebie, free. Same with the students who are on this call. We can do the same thing. No problem at all, okay? All right, so back to the show. Dr. Deborah Heiser, the Mentor Project. Deb, you were talking about some of the mentors that we have, and those great people. But the whole theme of the Mentor Project, organically growing, kind of like how the radio show grew out of, 2 guys wanting to do this radio network, and they're looking for the baby boomer fitness guy, and along here comes Tom Matt. And so here's Debbie Heiser, Dr. Deborah Heiser, who's got plenty going on. And now all of a sudden you go from Imagine Age to the Mentor Project. Expand that whole creative journey on that thing.
Well, I think that one thing that I was learning when I had a blog, and it was actually doing pretty well. It was called Imagine Age, and I was bringing other experts in the field of midlife and beyond to talk about things like finance and other things that were very useful and helpful. But I really thought that it should be something different by the time it got to the Mentor Project. The Mentor Project is different than a blog. A blog to me is very sort of one-dimensional. A person can go in, they can get information. It's almost like a library in a way. But I thought it was important to get people in touch in a meaningful way so that you could ask questions, you could actually get to see a person in person to make it more three-dimensional, if that's possible. So, you know, the move from that was moving from, you know, in the early 2000s, blogs were a new thing. And that was pretty much as good as it could get. We didn't have podcasts then. We didn't have anything like we have now. And at that point, I didn't understand generativity in a way that made me realize that people who give back actually get as much or more as the people they're giving to. I think that I was young enough that I didn't understand that, and I didn't know the research well enough. And I was very fortunate to be able to talk with Dan McAdams, who is essentially like the demigod of generativity and adult development. He really talks about how it is that we're built to and born to give back to others, and why we do it, and how it isn't something that there's just some people who are altruistic. It's that we all want to do it. Whether you are a grandma, you know, grandmas are mentors, whether you are somebody's aunt, it can be anybody. A lot of people think that a mentor has to be someone who's a lawyer or a doctor or
Right.
somebody that's in a professional field, and that's just not true. And I had to learn that lesson too before I, you know, started the Mentor Project and really was able to understand the concepts behind it and why it's so important that we do it on many different levels.
So more from imagination in the early 2000s, everybody, and then the technology made it easier to do these things. And so, and you can continue to connect people and become connected and connect with others. And the generativity thing grew. Deb, we got about 2.5 minutes before we go to break here. Why don't you, again, share with the listeners what else we're doing with this simulcast today, and some of the students that are on our broadcast at the moment right now.
Well, what we're trying to do is to let kids see what people do in jobs and in activities that they do, that it might just inspire somebody. It might be a completely different area that they never were exposed to, that makes them decide, hey, I want to try that. Or it just broadens their horizon a little, because there are so many areas that we feel are out of our reach because we don't know anybody who does what does that job, that it doesn't even hit our radar. So the idea for today is, and with all of our variety of sessions that we have and mentoring that's available one-on-one, is to give exposure. We don't think every single person is going to say, hey, that's for me. But if there's one who can do something and move the needle forward in any area and make a difference, that's what we're looking for.
So basically, everybody, we are doing our radio show like we always do. Debbie, her 30-second visit. During our breaks, what we've been doing is getting questions from the students. And when we come back, I'm going to go to break here in a sec, Deb, so I'm going to carry this one through. But when we come back, I'm going to ask the student who asked the last question if it's okay if we share her question, and if it's okay. If not, then that's fine. We can continue moving on. But it's important to understand the whole purpose of what we're doing here, because the who, what, where, and why, it really comes down to how do we do this? How do we transfer the knowledge? How are we going to inspire people? How are we going to get people interested? How are we going to intrinsically become better? It's all about helping other people. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you. It works. Stuff is amazing. It's like magic. You're listening to the Tom Matt Show. My guest today, Dr. Deborah Heiser, the Mentor Project. We'll be right back. All right. That's how that's done, you guys. We just riff. We got no notes, and we go. Isn't that right, Deb?
That is right. You're the master of this, and you're really not riffing. You actually really research everything you're doing.
I do a lot of readings. Yes, I do. Thank you. It's just, again, a curiosity thing. I just find it fun. I'm reading a book right now that a gentleman. His name is John Joseph. He was actually a singer in a band, in some punk band that I never heard of from New York. What's it called? I'll think of it. I don't have the book up here with me, but he reached out to me. I get this more and more now, you guys. We've been around for a little while now. So he was recommended to the show from a friend. I don't know who, but the guy's got an amazing story. He's been on Joe Rogan, and I've cherry picked a few guests from Joe Rogan. I've cherry picked guests from some of my podcasts that I like listening to. And basically, here's the deal. If you're going to do your podcast, you really are. So Hannah, you're getting ready to do your podcast. You're like, I like this idea a lot. So don't write a big, long email. I've learned this from students at Michigan State who I've worked with, that Tom is terrible. I'm much better now. And my text messaging, too long, make them shorter. And then my emails, too long, make them shorter. Okay. So I finally learned the hard way, because I write like I talk, which is like very wordy, obviously. So like I've had the executive editor from Entrepreneur Magazine, Jason Pfeiffer, on as a regular guest 3 or 4 times. And I asked him, because he gets pitched all the time. And I mean, we're talking the guy, the editor of Entrepreneur Magazine. And I said, Jason, of all the people who reach out to you, why in the hell did you pick me? And he said, Tom, because your email was short and sweet, and it was right to the point. And I was in the right spot. He was in an airport in Montreal, and away we go. I mean, so that's just, keep it in mind that never be afraid to reach out to these people, because you never know. I have sent emails to, Mark Zuckerberg, the Google guys. I don't care who they are. I wrote one of my books was written about Jeff Bezos, and I wrote 52 emails to Jeff Bezos and turned it into a book. So maybe I'll send that book to Hannah, so she can really see that I'm not bullshitting her. It's like the real deal, because I call it Believe It Amazing, because it's 52 emails with some of my other some of my articles that I've written for. I write for a magazine here locally called Healthy and Fit Magazine. I write a column for them every month, and so I took some of those articles. And again, repurposing content, you guys. You start to write things. You can take this and keep this in your body of work. You get ready to go to college. You get ready to get a job. You got this whole giant digital portfolio. Start now. Get on LinkedIn. Do the thing. All right. Any questions?
Well, I have like question/comment, and then please chime in, anyone who wants. I had no idea you had like a file of all of the notes from all of the sessions. That's really good organization on your part to keep, and I think that's good advice to give out to someone, that if you keep the notes that you take during your session on someone and file it away, chances are you might bring them back, or there might be a chance that you can refer to that in some way. And I think that's pretty smart. I wouldn't have thought of that. And I think that just those basic organization skills are so important, because we think we're going to remember things and we never do. I know.
There's today so far, everybody. So the reason, okay, there's two, that's a really very prescient comment. Thank you, Deb. There's 2 reasons I do it. One of them is selfishly, I write little recaps. I used to write longer recaps for the website when we put the podcast up. I need to have something to refer back so I can remember what the hell we talked about, because a lot of this stuff is stream of consciousness. And so when you're having a conversation, say you meet someone and you're going to go out, or you're just, you're not going to remember everything you talked about. So if you jot down just keywords, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to reformulate your thoughts. Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about STEM. We talked about generativity. We talked about, like I just wrote down the note, don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, all of these little tips are what are going to make you, again, I wanted to say this during the show, but I'll say it now for you guys. I learned from one of my mentors, who was a professor at Michigan State, who is deceased, who I'm very, very sad. Sorry, I miss him terribly. But he was a PhD JD, which means he was a PhD and a lawyer. Taught me a bunch of his courses at ComArts at Michigan State. And he taught me, he said, Tom, find a good model and just mold the model to fit what you're doing. Don't reinvent the wheel. So you could spend all this time figuring it out when I've already done it for you. I've been doing this for 9 seasons. It's like, take the shit that I'm going to lay out there for you and use it. Feel free. What do you think writing is? When people write books, it's ideas that when you read a book, you get an idea. Oh, I like that thought. Not like you're going to go plagiarize people's stuff, but the thoughts and the ideas and the concepts and the creativity and the spark that come from that, that's not plagiarizing. That's learning. That's creativity. So that's why reading is so damn important. And I was not a big reader until we started doing radio. Well, I was in school for 9 years in college as an older guy, and I have 2 children. So, you know, I have like a job and a family and all this other crap that's going on. So I became a really, I still like to think that I'm not that great a reader, but I read a lot. So I consume a lot of material and I read a lot of books. So yeah, this room that you see that's virtually empty right now, because we're going to be moving in a couple of months, used to be full of books. I mean, there was people would come in here and just go, oh my God, there's no way you read all these books. And I'm like, I've read 90% of these books in this room. There's well over 500 books in this room. In the last 10 years, I've probably read 500-600 books. Easy. And magazines and stuff. So any questions or can we move on?
We can move on.
Okay. Hannah, you still there?
I have everyone muted. So
okay.
She says yes.
Good. Good. Thank you for
sticking around. I don't know if you want to have Hannah speak live.
Hannah, turn on your mic.
All right, hold on. I have to turn it on for her, I think. So hold on. I'm going to turn it on. And I'm going to unmute Hannah. Let's see if I unmuted the right person. Hold on.
We're testing.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi,
there
Hannah.
She is. Hi.
Do you want to be on the show?
Sure.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do, Deb. This is the top of the 4th. So
you insert Hannah instead of me.
Well, I'm going to insert you first because you got to do plug. Remember, top of the 4th, you always do your website and all that stuff. Sure. That's okay. So then I'll take it back and I will bring Hannah in. Hannah, you just stay silent. And then I'm going to, what I'd like you to do is just ask your question again. And we'll just kind of talk about the mentor project, or we'll talk about, I'll think of something, but just stay right there. Okay. And be ready. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right, Deb, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, here we go. See, you guys should have asked a question. Now Hannah's going to get to be on the podcast and the radio show. They're all like, damn it, I wish I would have did that. Here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the radio program, podcast stream, whatever the heck you want to call this. You might be in outer Mongolia picking this thing up off the satellite, bouncing off Jupiter somewhere. But hey, if you are, God bless you. Thank you for listening to the Tom Matt Show. The Mentor Project with Dr. Debbie Heiser. We're talking all about the Mentor Project, having some fun with this thing. We're going to do something pretty cool here in just a second. But before that, we've got his top of the 4th, last segment for the Michigan Talk Network. Deb, we got to do the plug. So we've been talking a lot about the Mentor Project. How do people find the Mentor Project? They want to book you for, you're prolific TEDx speaker, all this stuff. They want to hire you, like you need more work. How do people find you?
Well, first, if they want to find me, they can find me through the Mentor Project, and that's mentorproject.org. They can find the Mentor Project on Facebook. Just look for the Mentor Project. If you reach out with a question there, it'll get to me. On Twitter, as Deborah Heiser, DEBORAH, HEIS as in Sam, ER. And on LinkedIn, we have a page for the Mentor Project there, and my own personal page there as well. We're also on Instagram, but not as often. So that's how you can reach me.
There you go. The Mentor Project is going to grow into this really, really super cool thing. And as a matter of fact, today, everybody, what we've been doing is sort of a simulcast. Not a sort of, it is a simulcast. A simulcast where Debbie has been recording the audio and video of this, her and I talking. And of course, I'm recording for the radio program. So we're double dipping like crazy. And we have a group of students who have been listening and partaking in the behind the scenes, and during breaks, we've been asking the students if they have questions. And so they're the real mentees. And so we have one of the students, Hannah, who I want to ask her to jump in here. Hannah, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, good. Your level's good, so it's nice to hear your voice. Thank you for the question. And I wanted to ask you, I was going to ask you about your question, but I really want to ask you about the mentor project itself and what you think you are going to receive from partaking in this, and why you would like to encourage other students. Now, first off, tell everybody what grade you're in, because I have no idea. We have never talked before. How old are you?
I'm 15. I'm in 10th grade.
10th grade. So you're in high school. Okay, very
Yes.
good. Okay, so why are you partaking in the mentor project, and what do you think you're going to derive from this?
Well, my school, like many others across the nation, I guess, was just canceled for 2 weeks, or put online for 2 weeks, I guess, due to the recent global events in the coronavirus. And so my parents received this link about the mentor project. So I wanted to partake in it because I think it's something really new and interesting. And I wanted to, I guess, learn something new while I have some free time on my hands.
Oh, that is such a great answer. Thank you so much for doing that. See what happens in the world, everybody, when you partake in something. Hannah, so you just found out about this, what, today?
Yeah.
Debbie, how amazing is that?
Hannah's a rock star. Everyone should just know that right now. She's going to rule the world. She's amazing.
Hannah, thank you so much for jumping in here. I'm sorry I didn't want to put you on the spot, but you did a really, really good job. Now, one last question for you to give you a little more play on the radio and on the podcast. If you wanted to be a mentor and you wanted to encourage other students, what would be a short message you'd like to give to them? Did we lose her?
Let me see. Hold on. Hannah, you still there?
I think
Checking to mute. I think she's muted. So hold on a second.
Hi, I'm sorry. My internet cut out.
Oh, that's okay. Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, the question is, how would you, let me think if I can remember what the hell I just said. That's the way Tom's brain works, Hannah. If you wanted to encourage other students, what would you like to share with them if you were coaching them, if you were mentoring some younger students or maybe some of your friends? What would you like to share with them?
I'm not sure. So I do a lot of theater in my town, and there's a group that does a theatrical program for 4th and 5th graders. So I help out with that. I choreograph for that group, and I help out backstage. I help run the program. In terms of other people my age, I don't really know. I just enjoy having conversations with other people about different topics, maybe things that we're reading or learning in school.
Very good answer. See, that was solid, very solid. Thank you so much for being part of this, and we won't put you on the spot anymore. That was great. Debbie, what do you think about that? Now, see, this is the whole thing about doing this. We're recording this live, but we have this opportunity to just inspire other people. I just find this to be just so damn cool. It's just greatness.
Well, I think that one thing that I really love is that when we're able to show people, take away some of the magic behind, a lot of people think of it like the Wizard of Oz, and you see Oz behind the curtain. When you open up the curtain and let people see what's behind it, it takes some of the impossibility away from it. And a person could say, you know what, I could do that. And I think that that's what I find the magic to be with mentorship, is that they're taking away the impossibility of anything that a person might think they can't do for some reason. And
That's a really good point. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's a really good point. I was thinking about some of my colleagues out at the university because, you know, when you work in a university atmosphere like I have, 21 years out there, and I have friends who've been out there much longer, you become desensitized to the impact that you could have on people's lives. And so by doing this program and enlightening and just saying, hey, you know, how about having a 15-year-old who just picked up this link today and she's worldly enough to ask the question. She gets to come on. She's not shy. She's a theater person. That's why she, you know, stepped up like that, which was great. But that's the whole thing, where the knowledge transfer that we disregard, or we just think, oh, nobody will want to know about that. Or that's why I'm talking about creativity in books, Deb. I mean, everybody's got a story. Everybody's got something to give back. And that's, if we all give back a little bit more, just a little bit. I'm not talking about, you're not talking about like your whole life, right? We're talking about small amounts. So what do you think the commitment to this would be for someone who's on the fence?
Well, I think I'm going to say this, that mentorship, well, first of all, our mentors with the Mentor Project give as little or as much as they want. We don't put any demands on anybody. If a person's working, you know, and they say, hey, I don't have time for a little while, we're like, okay. But the main thing that I have to say is that people have wanted to give back, but they didn't know how or where. There are so many people, and this is why it's been happening organically, that they're like, well, I'm not a mentor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor, I can't mentor. Or they say, I would love to mentor, but I don't know where. Who do I contact? It feels unnatural to go out and say, hi, I'd like to be a mentor, and here I have my resume for mentorship. It's not until it's organic where a person says, oh, I know somebody that does that, or I saw somebody that talked about that they say, oh, I'd like to join in, and then it feels more natural. So we have never had a problem with somebody, you know, where we've had to say, hey, come on board, we want to take up your time. We'll work it out. We'll haggle it through. It's more that people want to come on board. They just didn't know how or where previous to the Mentor Project. And once they come on, they do what they want when they want. That's it.
Yeah. For a 1 minute takeaway for the Michigan Talk Network listeners, what would be your takeaway for them? And then we'll come back. I've got some things I want to ask you in the fifth segment, but before that, we have to do our wrap. So can you give me a 1 minute takeaway for the bulk of our listeners, please?
Sure. I'd say that we're all built to give back. We all have a desire to do it. It's within us, and it's easier than anybody ever thinks. And it's much more rewarding than anyone thinks. I like to talk about the Ebenezer effect. We all know the people who don't give back. Ebenezer Scrooge is one example of that. It wasn't until he started having meaningful connections and bonding with others that he felt joy in his life. And we see that every single day with mentors. They get tremendous joy, meaning, and pleasure out of giving back.
I absolutely love that so much, and that is a fact. Dr. Deborah Heiser's been with us. We're going to wrap the Michigan Talk Network, but we will be back with the fifth segment exclusively on WKAR and on the podcast. We've been talking exclusively about the Mentor Project. Had Hannah step in here, 15-year-old, joining us out of nowhere. It was cool. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thanks again to Deborah Heiser, Hannah, Ezra Baker, Mickey Haddock, Sandy Mack, Craig Stiles, Samantha Medved, our former student. We'll talk to everybody next weekend on the Michigan Talk Network. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. If you're on WKAR, stick around. We'll be right back for the fifth segment. For the rest of you, good day now. All right. So
can you explain what the fifth segment is? Because that took me a while to figure that out, what you're talking about when years ago.
Okay, so here's the deal, everybody. We've been on the Michigan Talk Network for about 5 years. Okay, of the 9 years we've been doing this, about 5 of it have been on the Michigan Talk Network. Okay, so it's a loose group of a lot of mom and pop stations all over the state, small little towns. When people say how many stations are you on? How many listeners do you have? I kind of roll my eyes at them. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but we really don't know because a lot of radio is automated now. So, so we've been on the Michigan Talk Network for that amount of time. And since I've worked at the university for a long time, I know that we have the AM and FM stations at WKAR. They have a television station as well because we're a big, big school. So they have television production and radios. So I was pitching the hell out of them about picking up my show and just putting me anywhere on their air. Okay. So because you do what a barter with radio stations, again, getting back to the ad stuff, although PBS, you don't have ads, but it just puts us on more stations, more ears, more people finding us, and, you know, always thinking about just more people to hear our message. So the fifth segment is actually, it was required when the former program director, his name was Peter Worf, he decided, yep, we're going to do it, Tom. You know, our fiscal year is coming up. We're going to make some changes. We want to put your show on, but you have to give us 52 minutes. Because right now we're on what's called clock A, because in radio you're on these clocks, okay? So we're on a 40-minute clock A, they call it. There's a clock A and a clock B. So we're on clock A, which is certain size segments, and so we were always delivering 40 minutes, okay? Basically 4 10-minute segments. So when Peter said, yeah, we want you, but we need 52 minutes, I had to figure out, how the hell am I going to do this now? Because I got to give him 12 more minutes. So it was clunkier than heck for a long time. I mean, I still sometimes feel a little bit like I'm struggling with it. It's much better now because it's been like 3 years now. But we added the fifth segment because they needed an additional 12 minutes for their radio show. So I call it the exclusive fifth segment. It's exactly what it is. It's the fifth segment of the radio show that's only on PBS. So I want to be on more PBS stations. So any of you in New York that know PBS people, tell them you want to get Tom's show on PBS. I'd appreciate it because we're perfect. We're 52 minutes, fits perfect. We deliver, and it's turnkey. It's really easy. We don't screw around. And so it doesn't cost you a dime. So that's the answer to that question, Deb.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other people want to talk before we go into the fifth segment?
I think we scared everyone after we.
I'm sorry. You know, they'll all say, "Oh my God, he'll put me on the air. I don't want to do it." No, that's not it. You know, but I got to give Hannah some props again. Hannah, thank you for stepping up. But see, she's a theater person. She's asking good questions about content. She's a performer. Not that you have to be a performer, but somebody like her absolutely, positively should be thinking about radio and podcasting. And taking her aptitude, because any athlete, see, I was a team athlete, okay? I'm a trainer and a team athlete. I really admire performers. I was always envious of performers and people like Hannah who are actors and actresses or production people or singers or musicians or any of that. I am terrible at all that stuff. But hey, you know what? I get to do radio. And so it's a little bit of, you know, we're sort of crossing the bridge a little bit. And so I found a little bit of a niche-y thing that people kept saying, hey, you're pretty good at that stuff. You should, how long you been doing it? And this is way back in the beginning. And I said, oh, it's like 3 months. And they were like laughing and they're like, wow, you're pretty good at that. And I'm like, really? You think so? Because man, I tell you what, I'm the most insecure person in the world. Believe it. I tell you. Insecurity runs deep. It's just when you come and you share your vulnerabilities with people, like telling people you were, you know, I have an alcohol and drug problem, like I did, and telling them I've been sober for 22 years, like I am. It's like when you do that, what happens is it opens you up and it makes you real and it makes things easier. Because I'm telling you guys, hiding and lying and cheating and doing this shit behind the scenes catches up to you eventually. And you ain't fooling nobody. I'm telling you right now, take it from the master. I am the master of hiding, lying, cheating, drinking, drugging, doing it all. And it's a slippery slope. So again, I do a lot of counseling and talking to people, and that kind of stuff I keep confidential. And if anybody ever needs help with that, hit me up, send me email, and I'll be happy to help you out on that, because believe me, it starts and it can be very, very insidious. I learned about gaslighting from one of my student friends, and I had a psychologist on talking about gaslighting. I know a lot about that now because I interviewed an expert from Florida on that a couple of times, read her book. And so, not that I'm an expert on it, but it's like generativity. I wanted to learn about generativity from Debbie, talk to Debbie about it. I wanted to learn about gaslighting. I talked to the lady down in Tampa. I mean, so again, mentors, asking questions. Doing radio, you can actually like expand your brain. And so it's all good. It's all good. So anybody stepping up, or did Hannah win the book?
I think Hannah won the book. But now's your chance, people. If you have one last one, but I seriously think we scared everybody.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, and Dwayne just wrote Hannah won the book.
Okay, Dwayne. So maybe you guys will join us when Deb and I get together for the next one. So what we're going to do here's the wrap. We're going to do 12 minutes and then we'll be done. And so I want to thank everybody for being part of the project, and hopefully we'll get to know each other a little better down the road. We won't be on air, and you can ask me questions. Now that you've kind of heard the whole thing and you got questions, let it kind of percolate in your head, and now you can ask questions, because that's totally cool. I get it. I mean, I work in higher ed, so I'm around students all the time. There are no bad questions. Don't feel like you're dumb or anything like that. I mean, I'm the old guy who dropped out of college. I was the one who was dumb. And so here we go, hey, step it up. So when we get back, I don't know when Debbie's going to schedule me for the next, but it'll be a regular thing, and then she'll promote it. We'll make it work. She's got a good team. But here we go, Deb.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the fifth segment, exclusively on WKAR 105.1 FM and AM 870. So thrilled to be on PBS, exclusively at my alma mater, the Big Green Machine, Michigan State University. Again, any PBS station out there that wants to pick us up, let me know. Tom@boomersrock.us, and we'll be happy to send you our show. Everything cool. No cost. It's a freebie. How's that sound? All right. Debbie Heiser's with us, Dr. Deborah Heiser, the Mentor Project. Been talking about the Mentor Project at length today, and we've been kind of conducting an experiment, which has gone pretty well, actually, where we're going to be, I'm a mentor in Debbie's Mentor Project. I have been for a while, part of her book quite a while ago, a few years ago. And so we've been talking about this. And so now we're going to the next level, where Debbie is recording via Zoom the audio and the video of this session, this broadcast that we're recording. And of course, I'm doing my thing. So that's what's been happening behind the scenes. We had Hannah asked a question. Dwayne jumped in a second ago. And down the road, we will have mentoring opportunities for more students. So, I mean, Hannah heard about this thing today from her mom and dad because of the coronavirus shutdown of all our schools. She was curious, and so she jumped in. And so out of nowhere, there you go. And so she asked a good question, and she won a book on the show. So, Deb, I got questions for you. You were talking about, with the Mentor Project, I wrote down in my notes, the great enabler. You're the great enabler with this Mentor Project. Do you feel that way?
Well, usually I think of enabling in not quite a positive way, but I think that we are enabling people to come together. I think it's more of a connector than an enabler. I think that, my whole belief behind this is making connections so that mentors and mentees can meet up, and there can be an explosion of excitement and insight and inspiration. So anytime that can happen, that's what gets me excited. So every time we bring, go ahead.
Well, by what I meant with the great enabler is you're breaking down the barriers, and you're enabling people to break through their fear, because a lot of people are afraid to ask questions and so forth and so on. I want to ask you again, I made a note here to mention now our joint friend, Jane Kurth, and how making that connection with Jane has changed some things for you. Talk about her a little bit. She's unbelievable. She's been on the show a couple of times now, and she's from Atlanta. And again, here we go again with the connecting, but talk about how this whole thing where I just sent a soft intro between the two of you guys and what has precipitated.
So you sent out an email introducing me to Jane, and I thought, how is Jane connected to this? All right, I'll meet Jane. Okay. I couldn't see it at first. And Jane is a kinesiologist. I'm saying that incorrectly, but she is someone who studies the motion within the body and how the body works. She's also interested in nutrition and fitness and really all the inner workings of the body. And so when I got the email, I thought, all right, well, let me meet Jane. It turned out Jane and I had so much to talk about, and I was able to see so many ways that Jane was able to work with our other mentors, because one of the big things we do is what we call lateral mentoring, where our mentors mentor each other. If you're an expert in one field, you might not, if you're a hardware engineer, you might not have the expertise of a software engineer. So you need to call somebody in. And that's how all of our big innovations happen, is by having sort of experts in different areas mentoring each other. So Jane came on board, and she was kind of that missing link for a lot of people. Like, I'm going to bring in education components and how people can get certified in things and all kinds of stuff that just clicked. And it was beautiful. And so she's going to be giving a talk soon for the Mentor Project, a session online. And it was really just one of those things that you made that connection, and it really worked. And I've been now sending out her information to others and making more connections. And that's really what the Mentor Project is about. It's finding people who might have a need or get inspired or might not even know they're missing something until they meet someone. And then they say, that's what I've been missing to make this next big step in whatever I'm working on. And that's what happened with Jane. She's a wonderful person. And people should listen to her podcast with you, Jane Kurth, fabulously wonderful, smart, brilliant woman.
She is really amazing. She's a Southern belle. She's just so articulate. And the story with Jane, she's got a very diverse story. And so the way I found her is like the way I find a lot of people. But the thing is, and what I want to make sure that I clearly articulate to the listeners and to the students who are on this simulcast, is gut feeling. I had a gut feeling, and I've learned to embrace my gut feelings, everybody. And so where in the past, when my kids were younger, I would have a gut feeling and I would allow my kids to talk me in or out of things. And it was like, I'm not feeling it, you know? And so now at this point, I've become so confident in my gut feeling. I'm just like, if I feel it, I'm going with it. That's all there is to it. And so I knew that I just had a feeling. I said, I'll bet you Jane and Debbie would click like nothing else. And the thing with Jane Kurth is she's very smart, but she's really good at the putting together digital content for online learning. And that's what she did as a professor at a university in Georgia. So, and in addition to, she's a kinesiologist, and so that was her subject matter, but she's actually a technologist. And so any of the students that are still on this recording session with us, the simulcast, when Jane comes on, and this is the beauty of the Mentor Project, because it'll be recorded, you're going to need to, because like a Hannah, you're going to want to watch that one, because Jane Kurth, she was a dancer, she was a kinesiologist, she's a professor, and she did all of these things, and now she's a technologist. And so she's got this company called FitFix Now, which offer all of these really cool classes for very inexpensive. And I did 2 of those for my certification, my recertification for my personal training. So sorry, Deb, long-winded, I took some of your time there, but I wanted to kind of expand on why making connections and gut feelings. Let's go with that gut feeling thing to kind of wrap the show about the mentoring thing. If you feel good about it, what do you think?
I think you have to follow your gut. And I think the one thing that you do, which I don't think that you spoke about, is that everyone feels like they're going to be a burden if they reach out and try to find a mentor. They're shy to speak up and say, hey, I'd like to ask you some questions. They think they're going to be taking up somebody's time. And I don't know of a mentor yet who says, oh, I just got contacted by somebody who wants to be mentored by, who wants me to mentor them. So it goes both ways. I think that first of all, follow your gut. And if you say to yourself, oh, I want to try something new, you're not burdening someone if you reach out and say, hey, can I ask you some questions? Hey, I don't even know what questions to ask, but I'd like to talk to you about this. People don't mind. And if you come across one that does, then just try again, because more times than not, you'll come across somebody who's really excited that you're interested in what they're doing. And with regard to mentors, every single one of them values being a mentor. So if that's at all a help, follow your gut and go get a mentor.
It's so important for you to embrace what Debbie just said, because it's absolutely, again, a fact that you wake up. I guess it's that Ebenezer effect, as Debbie talked about earlier. And again, you guys, and I'm showing something for the radio people. You obviously can't see this, but I'm showing something on the camera, my notes that I write when I record these episodes. And I want the students to understand that it ain't rocket science, and it's fun. And I have this little acronym, and I'll get Debbie's takeaway here, but it's this one thing about we're not having enough fun. NUF, fun. NUF is fun backwards. We need to have more fun. We're not having enough fun. So this is kind of goofy. It's just the way I am. But Deb, I want to get your takeaway again for the 5th segment. Dr. Deborah Heiser has been our guest today. We've been talking exclusively about the Mentor Project and how you can get involved with it. Maybe you want to close with reiterating the website, the need, all of those things. You got about a minute. Go ahead.
Sure. The Mentor Project is bringing mentors to mentees, kids from K through university. So it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're in school, we offer mentorship for free, period, for free. So take a look at our website, www.mentorproject.org. Look at our list of mentors. I'm adding about 9 more, and we keep adding them. If there's somebody that you think, hey, I would like to talk to, click the Ask a Mentor button. And we do read that. We do look at it, and we do get in touch with you. If you're interested in mentoring, click our I'd like to mentor button, become a mentor button. And we do read that, and we're excited to get in touch with mentors. You can also find us on Facebook, The Mentor Project. You can find us on Instagram, The Mentor Project, and you can find us on LinkedIn, The Mentor Project.
Thank you to my friend, Dr. Deborah Heiser, for what she's doing with the Mentor Project. Ezra Baker, Mickey Haddock, Sandy Mack, Craig Stiles, Sam Medved. I want to thank Hannah for jumping in here. We'll talk to everybody next weekend. Thank you so much for being part of what we do here. Thank you to all the students who participated in our simulcast. It was fun. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. The Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. That's my company, and that's what we do here. We talk a lot, we write a lot, and we try to bring the love to you. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. I'm out. All right. Before we go away, let me do this save. The one key thing, everybody, you get done with this, save the file. Save the dang file. Okay, so now when I save that, what automatically happens, because Ezra set this up, this file just dropped into this giant Dropbox that I buy, and he can now do his thing. Debbie's in rotation. This show will air on the radio stations on April 11th, the weekend of April 11th.
How do they find out? How do they listen in?
Well, I will send you the podcast link, and once it's up. And so I sent you a link to the Libsyn, the new Libsyn aggregator today, Deb, in the email, so you can share that with, if you guys want to, if you go and you just Google Tom Matt Show, you'll find the show. Since we've repurposed, or excuse me, we rebranded the show. We're on what's called Libsyn, and we're on iTunes, and we're on the boomersrock.us site, and so we're kind of like in a lot of different places. But Libsyn's this big aggregator now that we pay to have them process our stuff, and then they send it out to all these other aggregators, and that's how you grow. And so that's how, if you wanted to go find that, bookmark that, listen to it, you can. It's all free. There's no cost to it, and you can hear the music, and you'll hear how it sounds and all that. So when I come back the next time, anyone that was on this, I would like to give you a little bit of an assignment. Bring a question in and ask, because we're not sure where we'll be yet, if it's going to be a technology question or if it's a content question, but we can go all over. I can riff and talk about just about anything. I think maybe next time we just come in and just chat, get to know each other a little bit. I don't know what Debbie's in charge, so she'll tell me what she wants to do, but
yeah, I'm going to put a topic together for each time.
Okay.
If that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. And so if people have an idea, if there's a burning question that you have that you want to start the topic off with, then let me know. You can put it in the chat, or if you're shy about that, you can email me. You can reach me on Facebook, and you can also email Tom. So
yes.
Tom, do you want to give your email
Yes.
address?
Sure.
And I will put it in the chat. So anybody who's here, we do have one person asking. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to give your email so anyone can contact you who'd like.
Yeah, no problem. Did you say
want
you
to
had
read it
another
out?
question?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay. My email, you guys, is tom@boomersrock.us. Boomers like baby boomers, because I am. And rock, ROCK.us. Okay?
And I'll put mine also.
And remember now, I cover a lot of different topics, but my actual expertise is in, well, I help students with letters of application for college and graduate school. I've done that many times. I help with coaching on interpersonal issues. I help with coaching on substance abuse issues, fitness, nutrition issues. I have a lot of certifications in a lot of different areas of that kind of stuff. And so behavior modification, as far as that kind, I have all of those. I'm not a psychologist like Dr. Debbie, but I'm a coach. And so I always try to encourage people, because one thing that makes Debbie and I really close, I'll leave you guys with this, is I'm a really big proponent of mental health. And so I've been in therapy my whole life, all right? I love therapy. If you're having interpersonal issues, therapy is their greatness. That's why Debbie and I get along so well. I mean, we've talked about personal things in the past where I've had problems with my family. She's helped me with that stuff. Don't be afraid to share that kind of stuff. I'm a coach. So I like to work in conjunction with a therapist or a licensed counselor, because they have a very specific skill set and I have a very specific skill set. And together we can make people better without having to leverage drugs, although sometimes that's needed. A lot of times, maybe it's just going to be a dietary thing, an exercise thing, a sleep thing, something very simple. And I'll leave you with one more thing. An acronym that I like to share with people in my public speaking events is ESPM. Deb, you've heard this before, right? ESPM?
No, I haven't heard it.
Really? I haven't shared this with you? Okay. So ESPM, because I had people during my speaking engagements, you guys, asking me, Tom, what do I do? What do I do? I loved your speech. What do I do? And I had to come up with something, and I wanted something easy to remember. So ESPM, it's like ESPN. So ESPM means this. If any of these 4 things are wrong in your life, start here, okay? And I'm going to give it to you right now. It's really simple. ESPM, eat, okay? If your eating is messed up, start there. If you're having a problem with that, figure it out. We can go into details about that, about gut health and all that. I know a lot about that kind of stuff. Nutrition is very, very important. ES, sleep. Sleep is vital. Your lymphatic system, your brain needs to have REM sleep to do the filtering of all the stuff that gets broken in your brain during the day. You need to get good REM sleep. ESP. P is the one people never ever get. I ask in the group, I say, what do you think it is? And people say, pray, people, great answers. But what I'm referring to is poop. If you're not pooping right, you got to start there, because if you're not pooping right, you're going to have problems, okay? That's a digestive issue. Enough said, all right? ESPM, move. M is move. You got to move. If you don't move, you lose. If you lose, you're done. That's it. And I think we're done, Deb.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for that. And thank you, everybody, for joining in today. I urge you, if you have questions, to reach out to one of us. And if you want to learn more from Tom in any way about in any topic area, please let one of us know, because we will put it in order of things that people want to learn. Each time we have the next segment, it's going to be very tightly topic oriented. So it's going to be a tight topic, 20 minutes, and it'll be learning something in a really tight way. This was a radio show today. You got to see the back end of it. After they're produced, you should go listen to it, because you'll see it's very different than what it was just now. It's going to be this without all of the talking in between the segments. It just is completely different. Once it's cleaned up, it's completely different. So take a listen to that when it airs. I'll be posting that. And thanks for joining in again, guys. Take care.
All right. Are we done, Deb?
We are. I'm going to end the meeting now.
Okay. Are we out?
Yep, we're out. Take care.
All right. That was good. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.